Making the front pages this morning, Boris Johnson set to address Parliament today for the first time since receiving that fine for breaking COVID rules. It's going to make him the first Prime Minister to face MPs as a law breaker. Well, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer joins me now. It's good to see you.
Good morning.
See you. I guess today it's a bit of an open goal, isn't it? Surely?
Well, let's see what he says when he turns up. I'm going to predict that he will apologise and then excuse himself,
right.
Which is what he always does. But, you know, there's the formal bit of this, which is, you know, the Prime Minister makes the laws, tells the country to obey the laws, then breaks them, and then, in my view, lies to the public and to Parliament about it. So that's the sort of formal first Prime Minister ever in the history of our country to have broken the law in this way in office. But I don't think that touches the sides of the human stories behind this, because for millions of people, complying with the rules really, really hurt. I think this is why it's gone so deep. You know, we've all heard the terrible cases of funerals that people couldn't attend, marriages, weddings, babies being born, or scans that one parent couldn't go to. But I think that almost every family has an example of their own, something that they didn't do, usually involving looking after an elderly relative, that they couldn't do because of the rules, and it really, really hurt. It really hurt.
You know that there are people saying, let's move on. You know, nothing to see here, bigger things going on in the world, let's put it behind us and just move on. There seems to be a feeling of that. Would you agree?
Well, that's where the Tories are trying to take it. They're trying to say nothing to see here, let's just move on. I completely disagree, by the way. I think that the number of people who really hurt, because if you take the example of a family, and, you know, my own family here, my wife's father is elderly, and my wife wanted to go and look after him when he was shielding, and she couldn't and she didn't, and it really hurt. And what she experienced, I think many families experienced, was a sort of guilt that they hadn't done what they should have done for their elderly relative. That really, really hurts. And I don't think you can just say to people, oh, just move on. I also don't accept this argument that some Conservatives are putting out, that it's a bit like a speeding fine. It isn't like a speeding fine at all. In all of my days, I've never had anybody break down in front of me because they couldn't drive at 35 miles an hour in a 30-mile zone. Right. I've had no end of people in tears, in real bits, about complying with rules that really, really hurt them. And I don't think that the public are going to accept this. I also think that the pathetic display of Tory MPs going out to defend the indefensible is something that they all ought to be ashamed of.
And yet he gets away with it. I mean, it would appear that one party was basically the head of the conga line, you know, that was what was going on. But he gets away with it all of the time. Why are you and why is your party not doing better to hold him to account and to hold his party to account?
Well, we're doing what we can. And when we started on this in a series of Prime Minister's questions, I knew we had to build the case week by week. I could see that. So the first week, all I could put to the Prime Minister was, you were at this party, to which he says, no, all the rules were complied with, there were no parties. You may remember then the Allegra Stratton video, which everybody saw. Of course, she resigned. She did the decent thing. I don't think she even attended a party, but she resigned because she knew that was... So the next week, I put it to the Prime Minister, last week you said there were no parties, now we've seen this video. He then stands at the dispatch box and says, oh, I'm furious, I can't believe it, trying to imply that there may have been parties, but it was, you know, nobody had told him anything about it. By the time we got to the next week, we'd got the invite for bring your own booze, it's a nice evening, and we know the Prime Minister was there. By then, his defence has then gone to, oh, well, I didn't realise it was a party. So I think slowly but surely we've been building that case that he's not just broken the rules, he's lied to the public and he's lied to Parliament about it.
But people don't seem to care.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's right.
They don't seem to. I mean, there has been said that there's not going to be any change of Prime Minister while what's going on in Ukraine is happening, this appalling invasion of Ukraine. And that could last, sadly, for months, even years. So it looks like he could be there for a long time.
Yeah, Lorraine, I understand the argument that the Conservative Party is making, which is, you know, we're not going to bring him down. We're prepared to go out and parrot his ridiculous defences, etc. I think for the public it's different. I think people still talk about this. They really hurt about it. And I think any Conservative MP that thinks that this is just going to go away is making a huge mistake, because when the whole country goes through an experience together, which is a very rare thing, and has to comply with rules. We were asking people to do things that, in ordinary circumstances, they wouldn't do. Not to go and see a dying relative, not to see your own children. A colleague in Parliament spoke about his mum dying in hospital, and he wasn't allowed in. And he drove his car to the car park of the hospital and sat in it while she died, just so he could physically be as close as he could be. Now, it didn't make any difference, but he just... you can't hear those stories and just say, well, forget about it, it doesn't matter now. I don't really buy into this idea, by the way, that Johnson is the only person of any importance in the Ukraine crisis. In Parliament at the moment, there is no difference of approach in relation to standing up for Ukraine across the Conservative Party or across all political parties, by the way. So if this Prime Minister went, it wouldn't make any difference to the political approach to the Ukraine crisis. So he's using that really as a shield, and I think that's pretty offensive.
And yet, there was a recent YouGov poll, wasn't there, saying that only 3% of people think that you're going to be Prime Minister one day. Do you think you will be? Do you think you've got any chance at all of one day getting the top job?
Yes, I do. And I don't pretend that it's not tricky. We lost very badly in 2019.
Yeah.
But when we lost in 2019, and when I then took over as leader of the Labour Party just over 2 years ago, the Labour Party was 27 points behind the Tories in the polls. Now we're just ahead, and obviously I don't get carried away with these things. No. But to have closed
Shouldn't you
that
be further
gap,
ahead, though, with what's going on, with everything that's going on? Shouldn't you be absolutely trouncing them?
No, I think that from where we started to where we've got to is a huge progress. There's more that we need to do. We need to earn the trust of people. We need to show what we would do, which is why when we talk about the cost of living, which again is something a lot of people are tossing and turning about, how do we pay the bills? We've said what we would do. Windfall tax on oil and gas companies in the North Sea who made more profit than they were expecting, and use that to reduce energy bills by up to £600. So we're now showing that we've changed the Labour Party. I think on anti-Semitism and on things like NATO, I couldn't have been clearer where the Labour Party stands. Putting on show what would we do differently, and I will just continue doing that for however long it is until the next general election. But if we're able to match the progress we've made so far, I think we can do this, and I think that the country is crying out for change, and it's for us to show that we are the change, we are the alternative. It's
going to be really interesting today, isn't it? And I think in some ways there's as much pressure on you as there is on him. I mean, he has to get this right, he really does, but then you have to score that open goal.
Yeah, we've got to go there. We've got to hold him to account. I'm looking forward to that, I have to say.
Are you all
really
kind of fired up and ready to go?
Absolutely, right. Because... you know, this isn't a game for me. No. Whether you tell the truth, whether you're honest, whether what you say in Parliament is truthful, that really matters to me. And again, people have said to me, oh, Keir, you don't understand, with Boris Johnson, it's priced in that he's dishonest, it's priced in that he doesn't have integrity. Lorraine, you would never accept that on your show. Can you imagine? If somehow you approached your show on the basis that it really didn't matter whether what you were saying, what you were doing, the questions you had were truthful or not. I completely and utterly disagree. I think it's a slippery slope. I will cling on forever to the idea that integrity and honesty and accountability matter. So I'm looking forward to this. He will try an apology, and then he will immediately go into excuses. And then what you'll see over the next few days is his ministers going out there and making fools of themselves, defending him when they know that what he's done is indefensible.
Well, it's going to be fascinating. Thank you for joining us this morning. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Me.
Don't forget, you can watch full episodes of Lorraine on the ITV Hub, and all the best clips, compilations and playlists right here on our channel. Just subscribe now and you'll never miss an upload. Click here to watch another video similar to this one, or click here to head to our channel's homepage to explore all of our exciting videos.